All right, buckle up for a deep dive today that's pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking a look at the Raghav-Yadvam.
Okay.
It's a Sanskrit text
All right.
from the 17th century.
Yeah.
And it somehow tells two huge stories, the Ramayana AD, the Krishna Bhagavata.
Wow.
But get this, it tells them both using the same verses.
Wait, what? How is that even possible?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
I am all ears.
Okay, so how does a single text tell two completely different epics?
The secret sauce is this really cool structure called aniloma viloma.
Aniloma Viloma.
Yeah, so picture this. You read a verse forward, and it's giving you a piece of the Ramayana.
Okay.
But then you read that same verse backward, and bam, you get a
Mhm.
piece of the Krishna Bhagavata.
Whoa, that's like some serious literary magic.
It's a literary palindrome, but with double the epic storytelling.
So we're not talking like two stories just mashed together, right?
No. Venkatadvari, the author, was way too clever for that. He wasn't just trying to be tricky. He was creating this, like, masterpiece of interwoven narratives.
Okay, so help me wrap my head around this.
It's like a tapestry
Yeah.
where each thread is a verse. But depending on how you look at it, those threads create two totally different pictures.
Okay, now my brain is starting to twist up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Can we see how this actually works, though? Like in the text?
Absolutely. Let's jump right in.
Okay.
How about the very first verse? I won't put you through the whole Sanskrit verse, but I do want to focus on one word. Shritam.
Okay, Shritam, what's that mean?
It means refuge.
Yeah.
So when you read the verse forward as part of the Ramayana, Shritam is talking about Sita, Rama's wife.
Right.
She's his refuge, his anchor.
Okay, I see.
But then when you read that verse backward, for the Krishna Bhagavata,
Yeah.
Shritam takes on a new meaning. It refers to the Gopikas.
Oh, right, the cowherd women.
Yeah. And they find their refuge in Krishna's divine love.
So wait, hold on. The same word in the same verse is pointing to two completely different characters.
Yes. And each is crucial to their own epic.
That's wow.
And this is just the beginning.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This duality, this play on meanings, it runs throughout the whole text. It's like Venkatadvari is showing us how these two epics are reflections of each other.
Whoa.
Each one illuminates different sides of, like, the divine and the human experience.
This is wild. So it's more than just a clever trick, this Anuloma Viloma thing.
Right.
It's like creating a dialogue between these two massive stories.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, don't just read these stories side by side, read them through each other.
Okay, so how does this actually play out in the stories themselves? Can we see some specific examples?
For sure. Let's go to verse 2. This is where Venkatadvari introduces Ayodhya and Dwaraka.
Right, the cities. Ayodhya from the Ramayana,
Yeah,
and then Dwarka from the Krishna Bhagavata.
you got it.
I'm guessing these aren't your typical once upon a time there was a city kind of descriptions.
You know it.
Remember, we've got two stories packed into one verse.
Right.
So he's painting this picture of Ayodhya, the capital of Rama's kingdom.
Okay.
But at the same time, he's laying the groundwork for Dwarka, Krishna's city.
Okay, walk me through this. What kind of details is he cramming into one verse?
All right, so in the Ramayana version, Ayodhya is like super traditional, steeped in Vedic tradition, lots of Vipra Brahmins doing yajna, sacrifices.
Okay.
And the best and brightest, the Agriya, live there. It's all about righteousness and religious devotion.
So a very traditional and austere setting for Rama's story.
Yep. But now, get ready to flip the script.
Okay.
Read that same verse backward, and Dwaraka pops up, and it is buzzing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's full of energy, intellectual exchange, you name it. Think hathi-goad elephants and horses everywhere.
Wow.
Scholars, Vidwan, having these lively debates. It's a major center for spiritual knowledge.
Yeah.
Like the place to be.
Wow, that's quite a contrast.
One verse, two completely different cities, each one reflecting the mood of its own epic.
Exactly. Venkatadvari is using this contrasting imagery to really nail down the identity of each city. And it's all happening in the same poetic space.
So it's more than just two stories. He's creating two entire worlds side by side in the same verses.
That's exactly it.
This is blowing my mind.
Oh, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Just wait until we get to the characters and their actions. That's when things get really wild.
All right, you got me hooked. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Tell me about verse 7. I'm especially curious about how he handles both Rama and Krishna in such a short space.
Oh, verse 7 is a perfect example of how Venkatadvari layers these meanings.
Okay.
It's like he's inviting us to see connections between things that seem totally unrelated. So in the Ramayana side of things, we've got Rama, right? Known for his composure.
Right, right.
He's described as Datta, the giver, and he's pacifying this fiery sage,
Oh,
Parashurama,
yes, yeah, right. Yeah.
who's described as like this wandering ascetic. So it's this image of calming a raging fire, bringing peace to a crazy situation.
Right. Rama's all about restoring balance and harmony.
Exactly. Now, hold on to that thought because we're about to flip the verse
Okay.
and jump into the Krishna Bhagavata.
Okay.
Now we've got Rukmini, Krishna's wife, and she's experiencing this totally different kind of peace.
Okay.
It's like inner contentment and joy.
And what brings her this peace?
She gets the parijata flowers from Krishna. They're symbols of divine beauty and grace.
Ah, the parijata flowers, right?
Yep. So two distinct moments of peace, one outward and one inward, all expressed within the same verse.
That's incredible.
And you know what's even cooler? Venkatadvari uses language to reinforce this connection.
Really?
Yeah, words like tej, radiance, and shanti, peace, show up in both versions of the verse.
It's like he's saying that peace, whether it's from outward action or inner transformation, is fundamental to the divine.
You got it. And this layering of meaning is what makes the Raghav-Yadvam so captivating.
Yeah.
It's not just a retelling, it's an exploration of how these epics connect, revealing deeper truths about us and the divine.
I'm seeing the Ramayana and Krishna Bhagavata in a whole new light now. All right, I'm ready for the next layer. What about verse 10?
Verse 10. Oh, this one takes us to the world of emotions.
Okay.
Big emotions, sorrow and anger specifically,
Interesting.
and how they shape the destinies of these key female characters in both epics.
Okay, this is getting good.
So in the Ramayana half of the verse, we meet Kaikeyi. She's one of Rama's stepmothers.
Oh, yeah, Kaikeyi. She's the one who tricks her husband, the king, into exiling Rama, right?
You got it. The text describes her as tormented, tapa, and avida, like a widow, even though her husband's still alive.
Wow.
It emphasizes how isolated she is and this deep sorrow that drives her to do what she does.
It's crazy how much he can convey about her state of mind in just a few words.
And here's where it gets even wilder. Reverse the verse, and we're in the Krishna Bhagavata.
Yeah.
And we encounter another strong female character, Satyabhama, one of Krishna's wives. But this time, it's all about anger.
Satyabhama.
Mm.
She's the one known for her fiery temper, right?
Oh yeah, big time. The text describes her as Sumukhi, beautiful-faced, but also ativichalit, totally agitated,
Wow.
and Ashant, restless. Her anger, just like Kaikeyi's sorrow, drives the story forward.
So two powerful women driven by these intense emotions that really set things in motion.
Yeah, but they experience those emotions in such different ways.
Right.
And get this, Venkatadvari uses the same word, havan, meaning home or palace, for both of their settings.
Ah.
It's like he's showing how their inner turmoil reflects in their physical spaces.
Yes.
Their emotional states are shaping the world around them.
This is blowing my mind. It's like a parallel universe where emotions are echoing across these epics, shaping destinies and influencing everything.
And we're just getting started. There are so many more layers to unpack, more connections to discover.
This is way too much for me to take in all at once. We need a pause. Join us for part 2, where we'll dive into more of these verses and see what other insights we could squeeze out of this incredible text.
Welcome back. I hope you've had a minute to process all that because we're diving right back into the Raghav-Yadvam.
Oh, my mind's still spinning from that last verse. The way Venkatadvari links those emotions, it's like he's saying human nature just, transcends time and stories and everything. Okay, hit me with more. What's next?
All right, let's jump to verse 17. This one really stands out to me because it explores two totally different reactions to, divine power.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
So on the Ramayana side of the verse, we've got Jatayu, the Eagle King. Remember him?
Yeah, vaguely. He's the one who tries to stop Ravana when he kidnaps Sita, right?
That's the one. He gives his life trying to protect Rama's wife. And in this verse, we see him bowing down before Rama. It's like this ultimate act of respect and loyalty. The text even says he's Vedon min nipun, like a master of the Vedas.
Right, so he's not just some random bird. He's wise. He gets it. He recognizes Rama's divinity.
Exactly. Now, flip that verse over, and things change big time.
Hmm.
We run into Indra, the king of the gods, And he is not a happy camper.
Oh, what's Indra's problem?
He's experiencing Daivya Dukkha, divine sorrow.
Divine sorrow. That sounds intense. What brought that on?
He finds out that Krishna is planning to uproot the Parijata tree.
The Paryata tree. Wasn't that the magical wish-fulfilling one?
That's the one. And Indra, well, he's kind of possessive of his heavenly treasures, not thrilled about losing it.
So Jatayu is all about devotion, bowing down, and Indra's what? Resisting, grieving. Two very different takes on the divine.
Right, and it makes you think, doesn't it? How do we, as humans, deal with forces that are bigger than us? Do we embrace them, like Jatayu, or, like, dig in our heels and resist, like Indra?
Whoa, yeah. It's like Venkatadri is making us look in the mirror a little bit.
Yeah.
Asking, how would you react to that kind of power?
Exactly. He's using these epic characters and how differently they react to get us thinking about our own WN beliefs, about how we deal with the mysteries of life.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What about verse 25? You mentioned before it talks about Rama defeating Ravana and Krishna's skill in battle, but those seem pretty different. How does he link them up in a single verse?
It's all in how Venkatadvari uses words to show different kinds of power. In the Ramayana part, it's all about Vijayashri, the glory of Rama's victory over Ravana. It's very outward, a classic hero conquering evil.
Right, a clear-cut good guy wins, restores order to the world, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But then switch over to the Krishna Bhagavata side, and the focus isn't on winning a fight, but on this inner power that radiates from Krishna. The text calls it his tejas, his divine aura, and it actually grows stronger after battles.
Interesting. So it's not about beating someone else, it's about the power within him,
Yeah.
and gets amplified by action.
You got it. It's more subtle, almost mystical, like it just emanates from him.
So we're seeing these two different dimensions of power. Rama's righteous conquest and Krishna's inner divine aura.
Exactly. And it really makes you think about all the forms power can take and how it plays out in the world.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about heroes.
That's the Raghav-Yadvam for you, challenging our ideas and making us see these classic stories in new ways.
Okay, we've got time for one more before we wrap up this section. What about verse 29? I'm curious how Venkatadvari paints Ayodhya and Dwaraka after all the big conflicts are over.
Verse 29 has this feeling of, like, peace and coming home. On the Ramayana side, we're back in Ayodhya, and it's described as Nariyal Vriksh Saahaji, covered with coconut trees, and Rainbaranj Pavanansa Nirmalit, all decked out in colorful buildings.
It's like this picture of tranquility and healing, recovering after all the chaos of war.
Exactly. Now flip the verse, and we're in Dwaraka. It's described as having all these victorious elephants, Anek Vijay Gadrajanwali, and it's lit up by the divine Parijata tree, Divya Vriksh Parijatsa Deepman.
So both cities are doing well, but in ways that fit them. Ayodhya is peaceful and lovely, while Dwaraka is vibrant and strong.
Exactly. It reinforces the idea that while these two epics are all woven together, they each have their own distinct feel.
It's making me think about the balance between unity and diversity. Even though they're intertwined, each epic has its own beauty.
That's a fantastic point. It shows how rich and complex the human experience is, how we can find unity within all these differences, harmony in the contrasts.
This whole deep dive is just like cracking my mind wide open. Okay, we need to pause and let all this sink in. Join us for the final part of our exploration where we'll dive into those last few verses and see what other gems we can unearth from this incredible text. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the Raghav-Yadvam. I feel like we've been on this crazy mental roller coaster, jumping between Rama and Krishna, and yet somehow it's all fitting together.
It's amazing, right? Venkatadvari's genius is how he's woven these two epics together, like they were always meant to be side by side.
You know, before we get to the final verses, something's been bugging me. We've been talking about these epics as if they're totally separate. But are they really? Both Rama and Krishna are avatars of Vishnu, right?
That's a really good point, and it's something Venkatadvari subtly acknowledges throughout the text. Remember, Teya has.
Yeah, that radiance or aura around Rama and to Krishna.
Exactly. That same word, used for both heroes, it hints at a shared divine essence. Like, their stories might be different, but their core nature is connected.
So it's not just two heroes, it's two sides of the same divine idea.
Exactly. And there are other little connections woven in. Think about the trees. In the Ramayana, you have the Dandaka forest, where Rama spends his exile.
Right, facing demons, testing his virtue. It's tough, almost scary.
Now compare that with the Kadamba tree in the Krishna Bhagavata. That's all about Krishna's playful side, those divine leelas.
Ah, yeah, stealing butter, teasing the gopis. Very different vibe.
Totally. But both trees, even with the contrasting imagery, are where the divine interacts with the world. One through hardship, the other through joy.
It's like showing us that the divine can be in anything, serious or playful, tough or easy.
Beautiful insight. It speaks to how rich both epics are. Different perspectives on the same big truths about life, the universe, the whole shebang.
Okay, I'm ready to tackle those final verses. Where do we start?
Let's jump to verse 30, the big finish. In the Ramayana part, we're back in Ayodhya. It's described as this prosperous place ruled by Rajalakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. It's like the kingdom's flourishing under Rama's good rule.
The classic happy ending. Good beats evil, everything's right in the world.
But then, flip the verse, and we're in Dwarka, but the focus isn't on Krishna himself, it's on his wives, Satyabhama and Rukmini. Satyabhama lets go of her jealousy, Ishahav, towards Rukmini, and they both live happily ever after.
Interesting. So Rama's legacy is the just kingdom. Krishna's is about harmony in his own house.
Precisely. That difference tells us so much about their approaches to the divine. Ram is the righteous ruler, upholding dharma, bringing order to everything. Krishna's the divine lover, all about compassion and unity, changing things from the inside out.
Makes you think about different paths to enlightenment. Maybe it's not just about conquering enemies or worldly success, but also finding inner peace and good relationships.
That's a profound thought. And it shows what Venkatadvari's done with the Raghav-Yadvam. He's not just retelling stories, he's inviting us to see them as reflections of each other, offering these different but ultimately connected ways to understand the divine and where WE fit in.
This whole deep dive has been eye-opening, seriously. I've got a whole new appreciation for these old stories.
And we've only just scratched the surface. The Raghav-Yadvam rewards you the more you read it. Think about it. More connections, more insights, just waiting to be found.
So what's the big takeaway for our listener? What should they be chewing on after all this?
I think the Raghav-Yadvam challenges us to look deeper, to see how things connect, even when they seem totally different. It reminds us that there are lots of ways to see the truth. And sometimes the most amazing insights come from those paradoxes, the things that seem contradictory.
And maybe it's an invitation to find those connections not just in old books, but in our own OBN lives, in how we see the world, the stories we tell ourselves.
That's a great point. And it leaves me with one last question, something to think about. Could other stories be woven together like this? What would it take to make something so complex? Maybe the Raghav-Yadvam isn't just a one-of-a-kind thing, but a challenge to future storytellers, to push boundaries, explore new ways to connect those seemingly different worlds.
Now that's a challenge I'd love to see writers take on. This deep dive has really stretched my understanding of what stories can do. Thanks for being on this journey with us.
My pleasure. Happy reading, everyone.